Behind the Red Line, Episode 27, The Land That Remembers. San Francisco is a city of edges, ocean cliffs swallowed by fog, Golden Gate shadows that stretch across the bay like long fingers. And the Presidio, a place once built for soldiers, now a quiet maze of forest, trails, and shadows that hold more secrets than sunlight. On the night of July 31st, 2020, that silence was broken. A gunshot rolled through the trees. A man fell to the ground, and a young Black trans woman, 21-year-old Leniyah Butler, ran for her life. To some, the story was simple. A sex worker shot a client. To others, it was survival, a moment of terror, a life or death instinct sharpened by a lifetime of being hunted, judged, marginalized, and ignored. Tonight, we tell the real story, not the sanitized headlines, not the courtroom version. The story of that night, that forest, and what the system refused to understand. This is Behind the Red Line, Episode 27, The Presidio Encounter. San Francisco sells an image of itself, liberal, progressive, queer-friendly, safe. But for trans women, especially Black trans women, especially those surviving through sex work, that safe image cracks fast. Behind the rainbow flags and open-air markets was another reality. Harassment, exploitation, men who fetishized, then turned violent. Police who dismissed them. A city pretending danger didn't exist. And Leniyah had grown up inside that contradiction. Black, trans, young, trying to survive in a city where rent could crush anyone, where scams were everywhere, where sex work wasn't a choice, but a necessity. She knew the rules. Don't go with unfamiliar clients. Don't get into someone's car unless you trust your instincts. Don't go somewhere isolated. Don't get trapped. But everyone breaks the rules eventually, especially when the world gives you no other option. 43-year-old Brian Ingersoll was not new to this world. He was a client who knew how to navigate the scene quietly. Craigslist, megasites, private number apps, encrypted chats. He had a stable job, a normal apartment, a public life that looked calm, respectable. But his private life, it was hidden behind screens, cash envelopes, and late-night messages. On July 31st, he contacted Leniyah. They agreed to meet. She expected a standard encounter. Quick money, leave, keep moving. What she did not expect was where he took her. The Presidio at night is a different world. Tall eucalyptus trees twisting above you. Pockets of darkness so deep you forget you're still inside a city. quiet trails that echo with every step. This is where Brian drove her. Not a hotel, not an apartment, not a well-lit public area, but an isolated, wooded federal park, miles away from other people. When the car stopped, Leniyah's instincts screamed. This wasn't normal. Clients didn't choose locations like this unless something was wrong. Unless they meant to hide something. Unless they meant for the woman with them not to leave. What exactly happened between them is something only two people ever knew. And one of them is dead. But the evidence paints a picture, and it's not hard to read between the lines. In the stillness of the trees, something shifted. Maybe he reached for her. Maybe he threatened her. Maybe he tried to overpower her. Maybe he grabbed her in a way that made her freeze the way only trauma survivors do. Maybe she thought she saw a weapon. What we know is this. Leniyah said she feared for her life. She felt trapped, alone, cornered in the dark, with a man twice her size, no witnesses, no escape route, no one who would believe her story over his. In that moment, survival kicked in. She fired one shot, close range, into the chest. He collapsed onto the forest floor. She didn't check his pulse. She didn't wait. She ran. Shoes hitting dirt, branches catching her hair, heart pounding like a siren. Because if she stayed, the next body the police found could have been hers. Ingersoll's body was found shortly after midnight. Federal land, a major crime scene, and a victim the system cared about. Leniyah was arrested days later. The narrative formed before she even entered a courtroom. Sex worker, black, trans, armed, client dead, no witnesses, and she ran. To the prosecution, it was a simple equation. Sex worker kills, client equals murder. To activists, survivors, and anyone who understood the violence trans women face, the equation was a different. Client isolates sex worker plus isolated location plus sudden threat equals self-defense. But the jury never saw it that way. Why? Because juries rarely believe women like Leniyah, and they almost never believe black trans women. They don't understand the danger. They don't understand the trauma. They don't understand the fear drilled into you from childhood. They only see a stereotype. In 2023, after 3 years, her case went to trial. The defense argued she felt threatened. She reacted to survive. This was self-defense. The prosecution argued she overreacted. She lied. She intended harm. and she fled because she was guilty. And the jury? Mostly cis, mostly unfamiliar with sex work, mostly unfamiliar with trans identity or the violence surrounding it. They did what many juries do, believed the man, judged the sex worker, punished the survivor. They found her guilty of manslaughter, not murder, an acknowledgement of fear, but a rejection of her full truth. Her sentence, 10 years. 10 years for surviving an encounter she believed she wouldn't walk away from. The violence that Black trans sex workers face is not hypothetical. It is daily, predictable, documented, ignored. Clients who fetishize them, clients who get angry when reality doesn't match fantasy, men who feel entitled to their bodies, threats when money is discussed, threats when boundaries are set, threats when they say no. And when violence erupts, the system investigates the victim. Leniyah knew that. Every trans woman in survival sex work knows that. That's why she ran. Not because she was guilty, but because she knew the world she lived in. A world where nobody believes girls like her, no matter what they say. Leniyah Butler was not a villain. She was not a cold-blooded killer. She was a young woman fighting to survive poverty, transphobia, homelessness, and the daily violence that comes with selling intimacy to men who feel entitled to you. She was funny. She was outspoken. She had dreams. She wanted to transition fully. She wanted a life that didn't involve fear, hiding, or running. And that night in the Presidio, she believed those dreams were ending. She acted on instinct, on trauma, on fear, but the courtroom wasn't built to understand any of that. The Presidio is quiet today. People jog, dogs run through the grass, tourists take photos. No one imagines a struggle in the trees. No one imagines a young woman fighting for her life in the dark. No one imagines how close she came to being the one in the body bag. Leniyah's story forces us to ask, how many trans women are punished for surviving? How many clients are treated as victims while sex workers are treated as criminals? How many cases like this never even make the news? Because for every Leniyah, there are dozens more, silenced, buried, forgotten, but not here, not on Behind the Red Line. Leniyah Butler was fighting long before the night of July 31st. Fighting the system, fighting the streets, fighting the assumptions written on her body the moment she entered the world. She didn't ask to be a symbol, but she became one. A symbol of what happens when survival gets criminalized. A symbol of how quickly a victim becomes a defendant. a symbol of the violence hidden in the shadows of American cities. But most of all, a symbol of a truth the system refuses to face. When you push a marginalized girl into a dark corner, she will fight back. This is Behind the Red Line, Episode 27, The Presidio Encounter.